The Israeli forces have once again raided the Al-Aqsa Mosque and occupied Jerusalem and arrested 4 employees. In a statement, the Palestinian Foreign Ministry said Israel has not stopped its policy of violating the mosque's sanctity. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates says it stands ready to facilitate peace efforts between Israel and the Palestinians. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says there are no signs yet whether Iran will come into compliance with its nuclear commitments in order to have sanctions lifted. His remarks come ahead of the 5th round of Vienna talks aimed at the revival of the agreement. The EU and Russia have previously said a final agreement on the revival of the deal is imminent. A study by Public Health England has found that a double dose of coronavirus vaccines is highly effective against the Indian variant. India is currently battling a rise in a rare fungal disease hitting COVID-19 patients as the country's overall death toll approaches 300,000. In Pakistan, the number of infections has surpassed 900,000, while the death toll currently stands at 20,251. The virus has infected more than 166 million people worldwide and has claimed at least 3.4 million lives. In northern Italy, at least 13 people have died after a cable car falls on a mountain near Lake Maggiore. The cause of the incident is currently unknown. The lift had just recently reopened following the gradual lifting of coronavirus restrictions. And in motorsports, Red Bull's Max Verstappen has won the Monaco Grand Prix to lead the World Championship for the first time. The Dutch driver started the day 14 points behind Lewis Hamilton and ended it 4 clear of the Mercedes driver. Ferrari's Carlos Sainz finished second ahead of McLaren's Lando Norris. For more news and details, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. The Israeli forces have once again raided the Al-Aqsa Mosque and occupied Jerusalem and arrested 4 employees. In a statement, the Palestinian Foreign Ministry said Israel has not stopped its policy of violating the mosque's sanctity.
Just a few hours after the United Nations Security Council called for full adherence to a ceasefire agreed between Israel and Hamas, the Israeli forces detained at least 14 Palestinians during raids across the occupied West Bank overnight. Palestinian Foreign Ministry said such Israeli attacks hurt the ceasefire efforts. Earlier, Mauritania's parliament urged the International Criminal Court to prosecute Israeli officials for genocide in Gaza. Over in Europe, the European Union's policy chief has termed the number of civilian casualties in Gaza unacceptable. Joseph Borrell urged they return to meaningful negotiations toward a 2-state solution. He said EU cannot be expected to finance yet again the rebuilding of Gaza without a meaningful prospect of actually solving the underlying conflict. UN's Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says nearly 50% of Gaza's water network has been destroyed. It said the airstrikes have left approximately 800,000 people without access to clean, piped water.
Palestine has hailed Pakistan and its people for their unwavering support during the 11-day Israeli bombardment of Gaza. In a statement, the Palestinian envoy commended Pakistan's efforts for pushing emergency sessions of the OIC and UN General Assembly. Ahmed Rabai added that his people appreciate Prime Minister Imran Khan's decision to hold a Palestinian Solidarity Day on the 21st of May. Rabi said that the support from the people of Pakistan has greatly boosted the morale of the Palestinians. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has welcomed the UN Security Council's statement calling for a full adherence to the ceasefire in Gaza. In his tweets, he said the statement's call for humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians is crucial. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says there are no signs yet whether Iran will come into compliance with its nuclear commitments in order to have sanctions lifted. His remarks come ahead of the fifth round of talks in Vienna aimed at the revival of the agreement. The European Union and Russia have previously said a final agreement on the revival of the deal is imminent. Iran has also restricted the access of the UN nuclear watchdog to its nuclear sites after the expiry of a 3-month monitoring deal. The watchdog has said its talks with Tehran on how to proceed with the accord. The EU has slammed a proposal by Myanmar's election commission to dissolve deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi's party. In a statement, a spokesperson of the EU Commission said no repression can grant legitimacy to the military's illegal takeover of power. Earlier, Myanmar Election Commission floated a proposal to dissolve Suu Kyi's NLD over alleged vote fraud in November election. Meanwhile, fighters opposed to the military junta have seized a police station in eastern town of Mumbai. The People's Defense Force also claimed to have killed at least 13 members of security forces. Over 800 people have died in daily protests at February coups, which ousted the elected government. India has recorded over 3,700 deaths from COVID-19 and more than 240,000 positive cases in the past 24 hours. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 3.4 million lives and infected over 166 million people.
For the past 2 months, India has been living a COVID nightmare as it struggles to contain the virus amid piling deaths. New Delhi's already staggered vaccination campaign has hit a wall after completely running out of supplies. With nearly 9,000 people now infected with the fatal black fungus, the Indian government has told doctors to look out for signs of black fungus in COVID-19 patients. As the virus spreads to rural areas, poor health infrastructure and a lack of testing have forced many to turn to unlicensed clinics.
There is an atmosphere of fear among the people because of the second wave of the pandemic. People are not stepping out of their homes. We are not getting any government facilities. A small team came and checked a few people and left. After that, no one has come to the village to check on us. We do not have any facilities here.
A new study has found that both Pfizer and AstraZeneca jabs are highly effective against the strain of the COVID-19 virus found in India. Meanwhile, a guide says a COVID-19 outbreak on Mount Everest has infected at least 100 climbers and support staff. In England, a new triple mutant coronavirus variant detected first in Yorkshire is under investigation. New data shows that more than 50 million coronavirus vaccine doses have now been given in England.
I've been really thrilled by the levels of vaccine uptake. I mean, in people over 50, 95% of people have now had the jab, but we want that to be as high as 100%. Of course we do. And then as we've gone down the age groups, the uptake's been fantastic. 4 in 5 people in their late 40s have already had the jab. And so we're seeing this incredible level of take-up at all ages.
While Western nations buy and stock millions of vaccines, only 25 million doses have been administered in the whole of the African continent. The World Health Organization has termed the disparity tragic.
Pakistan has recorded 74 more deaths from coronavirus in the past 24 hours. The Health Ministry says fatalities toll has surged to 20,251. The caseload has surpassed the 900,000 mark with nearly 3,100 new infections overnight. The ministry says over 817,000 people have recovered from the disease so far. It said there are over more than 62,000 active cases in the country. Nearly 4,400 of them are in critical condition. In Italy, at least 13 people have died after a cable car fell on a mountain near northern Maguri Lake. Rescue officials say the cable car collapsed near the summit of the Stresa Motarone line in Piedmont region. The cause of the incident is currently unknown, but local reports suggest the cable broke 300 meters from the top of the mountain. The cable car had recently reopened after coronavirus lockdowns forced the closures of ski lifts across Italy. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, a river of lava has come to a halt on the outskirts of Goma, sparing the city from disaster after the nightmare volcanic eruption sent thousands fleeing into panic. But it destroyed several houses in its way before stopping short of the major city. On early Sunday, people started returning to the city after many slept on pavements under a night sky turned red by fire and fumes. 5 people died in accidents during the evacuations. Mount Nyiragongo's previous eruption in 2002 killed 250 people and left 120,000 homeless. It is one of the world's most active volcanoes and is considered among the most dangerous. In China's northwestern Gansu province, 21 people have died and 8 others got injured after extremely cold weather struck during an ultra-marathon. In a press briefing, local officials said 172 people were taking part in the Yellow River Stone Forest race near Bayan City. They said 151 runners have been rescued. Local authorities said hail, freezing rain, and gales in the area resulted in the temperature drop. Officials said a landslide following the severe weather hampered the rescue work. The Gansu government said it had formed a special group to investigate the incident. In Afghanistan, unidentified gunmen have killed the head of a religious scholar council in Parvan province. Local officials say the incident occurred near a school in Jabal Siraj district. The attackers fled after the assassination. So far, no group has claimed responsibility for the attacks. Violence in Afghanistan has significantly risen as the U.S. and NATO troops begin to withdraw from the country after 20 years. Yemen's Houthi rebels have threatened possible expanded attacks on what they called aggressor countries. In a tweet, Muhammad Ali al-Houthi said if the blockade and aggression continue, Houthis will strike on unexpected sites. Group Supreme Revolutionary Committees had also dismissed U.S. sanctions on Houthi officials. Washington has imposed curbs on 2 Houthi military officials, leading an offensive to seize Yemen's Marib region. Earlier, U.S. Special Envoy on Yemen, Tim Lenderking, called for de-escalation and pressured for a ceasefire deal. In the United States, at least 3 people have been killed and 8 others wounded in a shooting outside a bar in Youngstown, Ohio. Police said that the victims were shifted to a nearby hospital and one with critical condition. Authorities said no one was in custody, but they were talking to several individuals. Police said they are processing evidence from 2 shooting scenes near the bar as well as the traffic accident reported around the same time. The United States is extending the ban on deporting Haitians back to their country for 18 months. In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security said social concerns and human rights abuses in Haiti led to the decision. It said the COVID-19 pandemic has worsened the dire economic situation and lack of access of food, water, and health care. The move enables Haitian nationals currently residing in the United States to file applications for temporary protected status. Haiti was initially designated for the program in 2010, but the Trump administration has suspended the program. However, the temporary protection had remained in effect due to litigation challenging the decision. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Vietnam, voters are casting their ballot in the parliamentary elections today. 866 candidates are contesting for the 500-seat National Assembly. Some 92% of candidates are members of the Communist Party, which also essentially vets independent candidates. Nearly 69.2 million Vietnamese people are registered to vote. They will also vote for members of the People's Councils at provincial and district levels. Election results are expected to be announced after about 2 weeks. Vietnam is battling a new COVID-19 outbreak that is spreading rapidly and has infected over 2,000 people since late April. Nigeria's army chief has been laid to rest in the capital, Abuja. Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atahiru and 10 other officers, including the crew, had died in a plane crash yesterday. Atahiru only took up his post in January in an overhaul of the military's top brass. The army said the plane was trying to land in bad weather at Kaduna International Airport. The presidency said Atahiru was an official visit to the northern state that faced security challenges in recent months. The Air Force says it is investigating the cause of the crash. One of the only 2 women on Sudan's ruling Sovereignty Council has announced her resignation from the transitional setup. In a video statement, Aisha Musa accused the military-dominated transitional government of ignoring civilian voices. The transitional 14-member military-civilian council was set up after the Sudanese army toppled autocrat Omar al-Bashir in 2019. Aisha said the civilian component in the council has become just a logistical executive body. She said it only stamps the approval of pre-prepared decisions. Musa also accused transitional authorities of leading the country to more killing, injustice, and poverty. She said she submitted her resignation on the 12th of May after the security forces killed 2 protesters. Spanish Coast Guards have rescued 65 migrants after they were stranded for days at sea in the Atlantic Ocean. Officials say the migrants were transferred to Argungin port, where they were given protective masks. They added that the case of scabies was found in one of the migrants, while some reported minor injuries. So far, over 4,900 migrants have reached the Canary Islands by sea in 2021. In Peru, thousands of people took to the streets to protest against the conservative presidential candidate Keiko Fujimori. Demonstrations were held in more than 20 cities against the right-wing candidate. The protesters chanted slogans against the Popular Force Party candidate, calling her a threat to the country. Fujimori will be competing with socialist Pedro Castillo in a second-round ballot in June. She is the daughter of former President Alberto Fujimori, who is in jail over human rights abuses and corruption. She has been under investigation for allegedly receiving $1.2 million from a construction company during her first presidential bid. In Bolivia, authorities have discovered and destroyed a cocaine laboratory inside a national park in northern Amazon department of Beni. Police found the trampoline-covered makeshift factory hidden in a section of the park. Interior Minister Carlos Eduardo del Castillo says the laboratory had 11 rooms. The minister said 110 kilograms of crystallized cocaine was manufactured per day in the lab. Bolivian authorities have found 5 mega drug labs in recent days, 2 of which were located on UNESCO World Heritage sites. The anti-drug squads have seized a record of more than 7 tons of cocaine over the past few months. Tibet is celebrating the 70th anniversary of its peaceful liberation. In 1951, the government in Lhasa and Beijing signed an agreement that led to Tibet becoming an autonomous governing region inside the Republic of China. Speaking at a press conference, regional government head Shi Talha said Tibet has made historic social and economic progress. He hailed China's help in ending epidemics and the overall progress of the region. Pakistan is set to host the World Environment Day in partnership with the UN Environment Program on the 5th of June. This will be the first time in history that the country will be officially hosting the day. On the occasion, Pakistan will make some important announcements to mitigate the effects of climate change. Prime Minister Imran Khan is included among 4 global figures who have been selected to participate in the World Environment Conference this year. The Premier will preside over the World Conference on the 4th of June. World Environment Day is the UN flagship day to promote global awareness for the environment. Billionaire Richard Branson's space tourism firm Virgin Galactic has completed its 3rd successful spaceflight. The success has cued the company's aims of launching customer flights to suborbital space from next year. According to the company, the rocket-powered plane VSS Unity carrying 2 pilots reached the altitude of 55.4 miles. The Virgin Galactic has 600 customers signed up already to fly to the edge of space for $250,000 ticket. The company says the tickets will be sold at a higher price than previously when the seals reopen. Britain's Prince William impressed professional race drivers as he showed off his driving skills in Scotland. He took eco-friendly sports vehicles for a spin around the circuit while visiting the electric off-road series Extreme E. The Duke of Cambridge was taken on a short walking tour of the first track, Fifi. He also viewed the motorsport company Extreme E's hydrogen fuel cell for charging cars using zero-emission energy. The company aims to highlight climate change and promote sustainability by racing in remote parts of the world affected by global warming. Williams' visit comes ahead of the UN Climate Change Conference to be held in Glasgow this summer. In the United States, more than 1,200 film and television memorabilia are set for auction in June at the prop store in Santa Carlita, California.
The Prop Store says they have got something for everyone as they arrange their biggest ever auction. Bidders will be able to view the full catalogue of items via Zoom and make their purchases online and by phone globally. Among the hundreds of items, collectors will find memorabilia from films like Terminator 2: Judgment Day, Batman, Elf, Top Gun, and The Muppets, to name a few. Harry Potter's wand and eyeglasses worn by Daniel Radcliffe promise to be one of the most sought items.
This is the first time that the Warner Brothers Archive has released Harry Potter's wand and glasses to auction. The exciting part for this as well is that 100% of the Hammer Price proceeds for these 2 pieces are going to go to charity, and both of them are valued at $30,000 to $50,000 each. So we're really hoping that the charity gets a lot of help from this auction.
Truck says fans should not be discouraged by the price tag on these items. The prop store has collectibles for all budgets from the price range of hundreds of thousands to the low hundreds.
Such as these background shoes from the movie Elf. These will be in the lower range of prices, but the hope is that with 1,300 lots, anybody that's a fan of these films can come and walk away with something that they love.
The prop store says the live auction over 3 days is worth in excess of $6.1 million.
It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. And in motorsports, Red Bull's Max Verstappen has won the Monaco Grand Prix to lead the World Championship for the first time. The 23-year-old Dutch started the day 14 points behind Lewis Hamilton and ended it 4 clear of the Mercedes driver. Ferrari's Carlos Sainz finished second ahead of McLaren's Lando Norris. A gearbox problem led the Monaco-born Charles Leclerc to retire just before the start. Hamilton finished at 17th with an extra point for the fastest lap. In the Pakistan Super League, all the franchises have finalized their squad for the remaining matches of the league in an online session. Multan Sultan selected West Indies' explosive duo of Sherman Hetmeyer and Johnson Charles. Sultans also inducted all-rounder Hamad Azam and the UAE's Mohammad Wasim. Quetta Gladiators picked Australia's duo of Jack Wildermuth, Jake Wilderholt, and Afghanistan's Zahir Khan, while Lahore Qalandars have drafted Singapore's Tim David, with Rashid Khan rejoining the side for the remainder of the PSL. Meanwhile, Peshawar Zalmi selected wicketkeeper batsman Bismillah Khan. The tournament was postponed in March after the coronavirus outbreak and is set to resume in the first week of June in Abu Dhabi. In tennis, Stefanos Tsitsipas beats Cameron Norrie in straight sets to win the Line Open in France. Tsitsipas dropped only one set in the entire tournament on his way to his 7th career title. The Grey Star also led the ATP Race to Turin's season-ending tournament with 33 wins this year. Last month, he won the Monte Carlo Masters after beating Russia's Andrei Rublev in the final. It's now time to take a look at the weather updates from around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at Indus.news.